Michael Patrick Shields all across Michigan. Mark D'Antonio, the Michigan State football coach, will join us a little later. We're talking politics with Ed Sarpolis, the founder of Target Insights, and we're getting around to this complicated matter. I think it's complicated anyway, of the governor's budget proposal. And really, when we get down to business tax, apparently the governor wants to replace the complex Michigan business tax with a 6% income tax applied to corporations with shareholders. A lot of tax exemptions would be eliminated or phased out. And his plan overall, as we understand it, with reporting from the AP, would reduce taxes on businesses by about $1 billion over the next year and 1.7 the following year, and a scheduled rollback of the state's personal income tax rate from 4.35 to 4.25 would be delayed. Have you got all that? Well, the lawmakers are still sifting through changes made to Snyder's plan, and there seems to be no clear alternative, is the way that this story reports it. Ed Sarpolis, is that the case? Is that what you know?
Well, that's pretty much where it's at. Well, what you're finding happening now is that there's beginning to see some movement on, the government want to eliminate a lot of these mega credits or MADC credits. What we're finding is that there's some give back on, okay, what do we need on brownfield credits, on recapturing some things. You have a lot of redevelopment going on in urban cores like Detroit or Pontiac or other cities around the state.
Yep.
And so what you're finding out here, the other thing that's complicating things is now, since there's some sense of pulling back on the cuts in education, the pension tax. Well, if you keep cutting business and you're reducing the burden on senior citizens in schools, something has to give. I think what you see happening here is that he's going to stick to his plan on simplifying the system, reducing the MBT. The question is will it be 6% tax? Will it be 7%? Or will there be some level of credits? And I think that's what you've seen to play out here, some balance somewhere in the middle, because the bottom line is that, we still need to balance all the interest groups. And you're seeing what Snyder did not expect is that being a businessman, business rules here in Michigan, but at the same token is he has to be accountable to the voters and the people who represent them.
Let's talk about, lastly, the film incentives now. The governor says we can have a $25 million program for movies and film incentives that cuts and caps, really, the amount that was handed out in the past, the 43% rebate. The Senate says we ought to cap it at $10 million, and the House says eliminate it altogether. What's likely to happen?
I think whoever has the biggest war chest of funds to affect the outcome of this, and we have yet to see the big players kick in their funds, like you're seeing in the bridge proposals. And I think in the end we're going to see some kind of balancing act here. But I think unless there's much more lobbying going on and the big players in the play get behind the scenes, is that something will play out. In the end, the governor's going to get most of what he wants on that issue. The other thing we haven't talked about is that we have the May Revenue Conference coming up, and there's some potential of additional $500 million that the legislature didn't know it may potentially have to play with. And so when you and I are talking, it might change here in a couple of weeks when the elected officials say, hey, we got more money than we thought.
We found some money. Kind of like when you pull your pants out of the dryer and there was a 20 in your pocket that you didn't know about.
So you and I talking about what may or may not happen may change here in a couple of weeks.
The governor is supposed to give an address this week on education, as I understand it. What are you hearing about the, if at anything, about the teachers' vote? Did they vote in large part to authorize a strike if need be?
That is still unknown. There's a mixed thing. What's going to come down is the teachers, are very key about protecting their children in the classroom, doing their work, and that the question of taking a strike would come down to is that they really feel that the governor and legislature is totally ignoring education, hurting the kids in the classroom, and impacting the quality of education. That's what they'll decide on the vote. And I don't know what the vote is, but that's where the focus is going to be, is what is good for kids in the classroom. That's how the teachers will have voted for a strike or not.
There's a group called Michigan Citizens United, and they filed paperwork to approve the language to try to have a recall of Governor Snyder. What chance do they have? I guess they got to get something like 806,000 valid signatures.
Yeah, what's going to happen there is where is the bodies, where is the money to collect all the signatures? Is it possible to collect signatures? Yes. Is there enough people out there to sign a petition of 800,000? Yes. The question is how do you gather them? How do you organize them? And it's very interesting that Labor and the Democratic Party, which you assume would be behind this, has been playing low-key, at least the leadership side on this. And so the question would be is that this group is looking to call Snyder. Where are the troops? Where are the volunteers? Where's the funds coming to pull this off? I mean, obviously it can be done. It's been done in the past. The question is that where's the bodies and where's the funds to pay for this?
When are we going to start hearing about the redistricting?
Well, it's already started. We've had a couple hearings in the State House. The Senate has yet to hear that. Tomorrow at the State House, Representative Lunn and his redistricting committee will be taking testimony on minority-majority voting rights districts. Yesterday, I put out with Mirrors, my Mirrors News, I put out some example majority-minority districts of the State House. Today we're looking at releasing some example maps of congressional district majority-minority. So the lines are already being drawn. They're already being decided upon, debated upon, and we are hearing testimony. And I would say as soon as the budget winds down a little bit here, you're going to see some visible plans coming out here and some potential votes. I mean, they want to get out of here as soon as possible, especially on redistricting, too, as well as the budget. Because you got to remember, redistricting is just as volatile in budget because some reps and senators may not have a district. They may not be coming back. And then also you got the political foray going on, is that we call political gerrymandering, who gets the upper hand on drawing the district.
Who among the congressional delegation is most likely to get the rug pulled out from under them?
Well, the bottom line, most people assume that in order to make two majority-minority congressional districts, that a portion of Congressman Sandy Levin's district will have to be used over 8 Mile Road. That's the likely scenario. But in my drawings, which will be coming out tomorrow in Mirrors, the fact is that you don't have to hurt Sandy Levin as much as you think. You could actually include Titus McConner's district with Conyers. You could include Congressman John Dingell. You could take portions of other districts. So the bottom line, Congressman Levin is probably the most impacted by any line drawing coming down.
Okay, we'll look forward to that, and we sure appreciate the time so early this morning, Ed Sarpolis. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Ed Sarpolis, the founder of Target Insights and widely known as the chief pollster in the state of Michigan and political analyst, too. Mark D'Antonio joins us later. What happened with that pastor in Dearborn on Friday? We'll get an update and where he goes next. Right after this, it's Michael Patrick Shields all across Michigan.